Hello, in this episode of Coolgrad videos, we're going to talk about working on campus. This is an important subject because there are so many varieties of jobs that you can do on campus to make some supplementary income to meet your living expenses and also your expenditures. So, as most of you know, that students who go abroad on a student visa for higher studies are not allowed to work anywhere but on campus. So you're not allowed to work for any American company if you go to America or any other country, and you're not allowed to work in a gas station, you're not allowed to work in, any kind of offices out there, or in the government offices, or in the leasing office of the apartments. There's only a certain number of jobs that you're allowed to do, and you have to be very careful not to mess with the law and break the laws. So I'm going to give you some tips about how to manage your finances and earn some supplementary income by working on campus, and what jobs you can do and what you cannot do. So usually most international students are allowed to work for a maximum of about 20 hours a week on campus. That itself is a lot, believe me, that's like 3 hours a day. And most countries don't allow international students to work off campus without a separate H-1 visa. So, teaching assistantships. So if you have a graduate teaching assistantship with a professor, you might be asked to teach some courses at the university, and you might be asked to proctor exams and grade their assignments and reports and exams. And so they usually give you a stipend about, for 10 hours a week you get paid about, let's say, approximately $500 or a month, or you might, if you're working 20 hours a week, you might get more than $1,000 a month usually. And depends on the university, the location of the university, the ranking of the university, and how much work you're doing. So usually you can find teaching assistant jobs in your own department and also similar departments such as math, electrical. Suppose you're in computer science, you can be a TA in the maths department or the electrical department or the physics department or the MIS department. If you're an MBA student, you could be a teaching assistant in the economics department or in the MIS or finance or in the computer science or math department, and you can always work in other departments too. Usually you'll be teaching like one-on-one courses which are easy, like say Java programming or economics 101, which are really easy and you don't need to be really smart to understand that, and you can always learn it, and it's easy to hold office hours and grade these courses and teach these courses and be a teaching assistant. So the other kind of assistantship is research assistantship, and then it's kind of cool to have a research assistantship, RA. So you can be, you get paid to do your own research. So you'll be working about 10 hours or 20 hours a week for a professor and helping him with his research. And it could be aligned, if your research is aligned with his research, you get essentially paid to do your own research. And you also get credits for RA. So that's for your research, so that's really cool. So RA is kind of really cool to have. A TA is usually much more work, if you think about it. So, grading jobs. Sometimes you don't have to be a teaching assistant or a research assistant, but just a grader. So you'll be working 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week, just grading assignments and grading courses and exams. So, and sometimes you have to hold office hours. The grading is also really cool. I used to be a grader for some math course in calculus. It was really easy. He would tell me what the problems were and solutions, and I just had to grade them, and it was really cool, and it was easy money. And it was good that I didn't have to work in the cafeteria because I was a grader. It was really difficult for me to work in the cafeteria, and this was a really cool job. So, dealing with difficult professors. Now suppose you're assigned to a professor who's really tough and cranky and cruel and stupid, and there are all kinds of people in the world. So you might get assigned to one such professor, and they might make your life miserable, cause you a lot of harassment and make you lose your peace of mind. Maybe you're not happy working for that professor, maybe they have unrealistic expectations, they pick fault with everything you do. It happened to me actually. It was my bad luck that during my MBA at the University of Arizona, I had a graduate teaching assistantship and along with a complete scholarship. So I was assigned to one of the crankiest professors in that university, and she and her assistant made my life miserable in the first semester. It was like to pick fault with everything I do and the nitpicking all the time, and sometimes these professors are like, you have to have office hours, and if you have no students stopping by or nothing to do, you can do your homework or read something. But this professor was so old-fashioned and cranky and stupid. She would want me to just sit there doing nothing for like 3 hours or 5 hours, not do anything because I'm supposed to be working for her. Isn't that like stupid? But that's the way she was. And most of the other professors were nice, like if you have nothing to do, just do your homework or something like that. But this professor made my life miserable. I hated to work for her, but I was afraid to ask for a change because I was afraid they might terminate my teaching assistantship. But a university cannot terminate your teaching assistantship so easily without a reason. If for some reason it's not working out between a professor and a TA, you can request for a change. You can ask them, can I work for somebody else? I found out that this particular professor, she had caused problems for all her TAs from the past many years. I talked to my seniors and they were like, oh my God, I worked for this professor and you know what, she made my life miserable. I worked for 2 months and then I quit. And some people said I worked for 1 semester and then I didn't want to have anything to do with her. So in the second semester, again, they made me work for the same professor. I was afraid to ask for a change because I was afraid they might terminate my teaching assistantship. So I continued to work for her for a second semester. In her entire life, I think I was the only one who worked for her the second semester too. So it's perfectly okay to ask for a change. They cannot terminate your teaching assistantship for that reason. And in my second year MBA, I was assigned to a different professor and he was so nice. And I was teaching an economics course and I used to hold office hours, grade some exams, and it was so easy and he was so friendly and nice. And it was a pleasure to work with him. So you have to make sure you're assigned to the right person. It's okay to ask for a change sometimes. If you're adamant, they might cut you off, but it's okay to request a change. So summer camps. So many universities have a lot of these summer camps, programs, where people come, students come from different places, local schools and other countries, and you might have to teach them programming, teach them painting, teach them computer animation, or teach them how to learn PowerPoint or Microsoft Excel or something like that, or how to use Flash or how to use so many software tools. So you teach them something and you get paid. Like these are contracts that are given. Usually they pick teaching assistants, so people who already have assistantships because they think they're good. But you can also apply, and if you do well in the interview, they might give you a job in the summer camp. You have to know how to deal with kids, how to deal with people, and then you get a certain amount of money, like say $1,500 for the entire teaching program for 3 months. You work a few hours every week, or you might get $1,500 every month, something like that. So you keep looking out for these summer camps and try and go and apply and follow up with them. So it's all about being at the right place at the right time. So librarian jobs. Check out in the library. These are like cool jobs to have usually. They just have to, you just have to arrange the books around and then, dust the books sometimes, and then people come and return books and you stamp it in their cards, and then sometimes you issue books, and it's like a really easy job. And if you have spare time, you can always sit in the library and read something. So try and look for librarian jobs. They're kind of cool to have. Sports complex. So most universities have a sports complex. So they have tennis courts and basketball courts, and they have jobs for like lifeguards at the swimming pool. So for that you need to be certified and a very good swimmer. It's a very risky, it's a risk to your life. If you have to be a lifeguard, you really have to know what you're doing. And otherwise in the sports complex, like all these people play basketball, so you have to give them all these balls and then collect them back and put it in there. Somebody's playing ice hockey, you give them all the equipment, and then you make sure you clean the place afterwards. And in the gym, all these people use the exercise equipment, and at the end they need people to spray disinfectant on the equipment and then clean the equipment, and they need people to swipe cards to make sure only authorized people enter the gym. There are so many kind of jobs at the sports complex, so that's also a cool place to work in. So if you don't have anything to do, you can always do your homework. And tutoring for junior students, so you can place ads on the university notice board saying you're going to tutor undergrads. Tell them you're really good at calculus, and if you have a problem with calculus, come to me, and then you tutor them for a few dollars an hour. And then sometimes you can tutor people in undergraduate courses. If you're really good at programming, you can help them with their homeworks if it is allowed that you coach them. I mean, make sure you don't do their homework for them because that's cheating. But coach them and help them with programming, help them with economics, help them with math, help them in many ways so they can get better grades. And they usually pay you like say $10 or $20 an hour. People make money in that way. If you're authorized to earn money by coaching, then you can do it. And GMAT, GRE, TOEFL, SAT tutoring. So if you had a really good GMAT score, there's a lot of these websites like universitytutor.com and Craigslist and gmattutor.com. So if you put your profile there and say, I can tutor people for about $30 an hour or $40 an hour, then people might come to you, and if you get a batch of like 10 students or 5 students, think about, you know, you could make like about $200 an hour, right? And if they come in a batch, you can give them a discount too, maybe $20 an hour. But make sure you don't get these people into your house, okay? And it's not a good idea to go to their houses either. You don't know what kind of creepy, shady people are there in the world. This happened to me once when I was in California. I posted an ad for a GMAT tutor so that I would offer tutoring services, and there was some, you know, Mexican people who had all these fake ads, responses, and they were trying to entice me to go to their houses. And they were all fake ads. I knew it because I even called them up and they were talking, you know, dirty stuff, and they didn't have anyone that needed GMAT coaching. All they wanted was to like probably sexually abuse me or something. So don't go to their houses to teach them. And don't let them come into your house either, whether it's male or female. And if you're female, you have to be all the more careful. So meet in a public place like Starbucks or in the university or in the sports complex, or you can meet in the cafeteria or somewhere or in the lounge, but always ensure you're safe, okay, especially if you're teaching them late night. So you can work as a developer or a QA trainer or some other trainer for a company, especially like an Indian company. You can work remotely for them and make some money in earning dollars. Now, if you don't have an H-1 visa, you can't work in the US for an American company, but you can always work remotely for a company in India. Think about that. So if you just learn some basic QA, it's very easy. In fact, in one of my videos, I'm talking all about QA best practices, how to write test cases and defects and testing life cycle, defect management life cycle and stuff. So if you just look at these videos, you can learn all this QA stuff. And if you can be a QA trainer, sometimes they pay up to like $30, $40 an hour or even more. And if you know more advanced software technology, like suppose you know SharePoint, suppose you know Salesforce, suppose you train people to be a Scrum Master, or suppose you offer training in business analysis or in C++ or like Java or .NET. You can offer training in various courses. Sign up with one of these Indian companies if you like, and you can earn some money in dollars. So you work for 2 hours a day for these companies and you keep getting a good source of income as and when they have batches. And you can make a lot of money, and you can also, you know, it's legal to work for an Indian company remotely. You don't have to be afraid of that, as long as you pay your taxes. So many people do this, and I've known cases where there were some grading assistants, like they were graders, and they used to outsource their work to other people, either because they had exams or deadlines, or because they thought they could get it done for cheap in India or something. They would make other people do the grading and then submit it to the professors. That's not a good idea. That's breach of ethics, and that's grossly illegal and wrong, and you could get expelled if you're caught. That's like cheating. So if your professor is giving you a grading job, you have to do the grading job, and you can't outsource it to anyone else without his explicit permission. So you could also like register your own company in India, for example, a private limited liability corporation, and then you can have people give you contracts to your company instead of to you, and your company is in India, and you work remotely even in other countries for your company in India or for some other company in India, and so that's perfectly like okay. So as long as you report your earnings and you make sure it's okay, and as long as you pay your taxes, it's okay. So some people teach dance and music and make a few extra bucks here and there. I've seen people do that. Like they teach Kathak dance or Bharatanatyam dance or Bollywood dance and to all the kids and, you know, the professor's kids and the Indian community sometimes. They make a few extra bucks. Some people are very good singers or instrument players. They can also make extra bucks. And cooking. So I've seen a lot of students, and especially like wives of, you know, some postdocs and assistant professors and PhD students, especially if they were on dependent visa, these wives would, you know, cook a lot of really nice food. You know, students were really pressed for time and also money, so they would make like a whole lot of gobi Manchurian and, you know, make a lot of these nice sweets and dishes, and they would sell them for $5 a pack or something. And there's usually something like an international food festival or something. That's one place where people can make a lot of money. They have their own stall set up and they can sell food for a lot of money. And I had friends in my university who would do things like they would sell Indian jewelry, they would do artwork, and they would apply mehndi, like, you know, designs on the hand with the cone, and they would charge like $10 per hand or something, and Americans would pay $10 or even more than that for the mehndi design. So they would sit in this international food festival or some occasion like that for one day, and they would make like $600 or $1,000. So if you're smart, maybe you can. Beautician services. So a lot of people, if you're a girl, you know, you might need to go to the beauty parlor for like threading or getting your eyebrows done or waxing and stuff. If you offer to do it cheap for somebody, so like in the beauty parlor it might cost say $5 for one eyebrow. So you pay about $10 to $12 just to get your eyebrows done. If you are doing it for $2 or $3, and then the people might come to you and you can make some money. So I've seen people doing such things just to make a little money here. So babysitting. Now, I'd caution you to be very careful about agreeing to babysit anyone's baby or a little child, because there are very strict laws about babysitting. You're playing with somebody's life, so you must know CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation. So if they're having a heart attack or seizure or they swallowed something, you must be able to resuscitate them. And you need to have a lot of patience with kids, and there could be a million things that can go wrong. So you need to usually have a babysitter license, and you have to be trained in CPR before you agree to babysit someone. I caution you, advise you never to agree to babysit anyone unless there is no way around it. Because there have been so many cases wherein people lost their temper with these kids. Sometimes you lose temper with your own kids. I mean, somebody else's kids, it's very difficult to have patience with them. And you're not allowed to spank them, not allowed to whack them. You've got to be so careful with them. So there were all these infamous cases. There was this case about Kinjal Patel, this girl who was babysitting a young boy, and the kid was repeatedly spitting all the food out. She told him to stop and he didn't, and so she jerked the kid 3 times and then pushed him, and the kid fell and had concussions and he died. And now she's going to be in jail for so many years. It also happened to another woman. She got mad at the baby and she shook the baby really hard, and the baby died. And in the post-mortem, they determined that the cause of the baby's death was because of the heart shaking. And now that woman is in jail for 10 years. I think she was babysitting her own friend's kid or something. With kids, unless you have a lot of experience and patience and you really know what you're doing, please don't agree to babysit anyone's kid. It's not worth the risk. And it's very, very risky. So many people think that's like easy money, but it's very risky, and I would never recommend you to do that too. Never agree to babysit unless you have a license and you have lots of patience and you're really familiar with kids. So, driving a cab. Sometimes students work in the weekends and evenings as cab drivers. Like they work for Uber or Lyft, and sometimes they offer cab services for a few extra bucks. I've seen students do that, and if you have a car of your own, and you could probably do that. I mean, if your visa allows you to work for these companies. Pet care and dog sitting. Sometimes you can walk dogs and make a few extra bucks. You can agree to mow somebody's lawn and make a few extra bucks. And if somebody is going out of town for a week, they need someone to stay in their house and take care of their pet, dog or cat. You can agree and make some quick bucks, like $100, $200. That's kind of okay, but make sure it's a nice dog or a nice cat. And make sure you don't steal anything from their place, please, because otherwise you'll end up in jail. So that brings us to this end of this video about working on campus. And there's also a lot of other jobs, like in the cafeteria, for example. You can you have so many jobs in the cafeteria, like, you know, making burgers, making pizzas, mopping the floor, wiping the tables, doing the dishes, you know, loading it into the machines, and, you know, serving food and making waffles. It's like so many jobs. There's one job called lining. You know, you take all this huge gallons of milk and put it in the milk vending machine, or you can sit in the door and swipe cards. There's so many things you can do in a cafeteria. But where we used to work, there was considerable degree of politics and harassment. I mean, I had a big problem working with meat because I couldn't work with meat, but they used to deliberately make beef burgers and hamburgers, and I had a really tough time. I would cry, I would throw up, but they deliberately did that to harass me, and a lot of other people were harassed too. So you can always go up to the university HR department and file for workplace harassment, and they take this very seriously. Or you can call 911 and get a restraining order from that person. Or you can just switch and go to another cafeteria, or just go to another job, okay? So don't let anyone ruin your peace of mind. And if you think it's not working out, it's okay to request for a change. Nobody can fire you for that, or expel you from the university for that, or even terminate your scholarships for that. So I hope you find the right work on campus, and I hope you find enough supplementary income to support yourself. There are so many ways to make supplementary income, and I hope you use your brains and, you know, earn a lot of money to support yourself, so you don't have to harass your family for funds to support you. Thank you.